The diet tracker module is where you record your pet's diet history. You can either click on the diet tracker here on the module sidebar or the button on the ribbon. So let's click it, and then we'll just make a little bit more room. So here we have basically a calendar, and over here on the left you select your pet. So what we're going to do is select Spot, and when you click on one of the pets, you're going to get all of this your pet's attached recipes. So here we have all the recipes that we have attached for Spot. So to add a recipe to the diet history is really, really simple. You just click on a recipe here. We'll just use any one, boneless chicken with liver, and we simply drag it to a time slot. So that's it. We drag it to a time slot, and then we get this little confirmation dialog. So right now, I'm just going to click no, so I want to get rid of it before we do that, and just let you know that the time slot, here's the day. It's today's date is July the 4th. This is 2015. But what you want to do is you want to, if I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but you want to try to put it on the right time slot. So you don't want to put it on a 2 a.m. time slot if you're feeding your pet at, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning, or if you're feeding your clock at 4 p.m. or whatever time you're feeding it. So what you want to do first is just make sure that the time slot that you're going to put on is visible, right? There's other things that you can do too. We've got today's date, so you can choose a work week view. So this has got Monday to Friday, or you could choose the full week view. This is what it looks like here. Or you could choose a month view, or even a timeline view. So different views. We're going to go back to the day view, and this is today's date, which is July the 4th. So we're just clicking here. But what you can do here with over on the right is a date navigator. So let's just say that I wanted to look at at a week's worth from or just a few days worth. Let's say the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, and the 10th. And you'll see that it'll automatically give us these 4 dates. But you could do other things too. Like I could do 2 weeks, for instance, and so it'll go 2 weeks. It'll do whatever weeks you want. And over here, you've got the previous meal. So if I click on it, then we've got a meal that was done on the 24th of November, which I guess was 2014. Yeah, that was 2014. So let's just go to today's date. So the last time I entered it, this is just a working copy that I'm using to do these videos. So the last time I entered a recipe was back in 2014. So here, let's just go to today's date, and we're going to look at the day view. Yeah, the day view. Okay, so what happened here is I clicked on today and I clicked on the day view, but I have these highlighted. So what I have to do here is just get rid of that. So the only one is highlighted. And you see that if I clicked on the 15th, it has a lighter blue color than this darker blue. So this darker blue here just shows you what today's date is, which is the 4th. So we'll just click on here and that's today. Okay, so all we have to do now is just drag this again, and I'm going to put it on to, let's say, a 9 o'clock time slot. So you're recording a meal at 9 o'clock. Proceed, yes. So what happens now is another dialogue is going to come up. And this is a really powerful dialogue. And I'm going to have to explain this over a few minutes. There's 4 different tabs here: as fed, adjust by volume, adjust by weight, and adjust ingredient amount. Now, if you took that whole recipe that you had designed in in the other module, the recipe balancer module, so that entire recipe, and you're feeding that whole recipe to your pet, in this case to our dog, then you would just click as fed and click the save button. All right, so what that's going to do is it will record in the database all the nutrients for that recipe um, for this, in this time slot. So that's it. And so how can we edit this? Let's say that we made a mistake. We just right click on it and you can choose delete, and this will just delete it. So we can do that. Are you sure you want to delete this record? Fine. Okay, that record's gone. So let's put it back to the 9 o'clock slot. Yes. Wait for this dialog to come up. So if you just feed the whole recipe, you're going to feed as fed and push save. Okay, so here we have it again. Now, if you ever want to take a look at what you did, you just double click it. Now it's going to come up the dialog again, but it'll come up and tell you what it did. So it came up as fed, and so you now know that you had put it down as fed. Let's show exactly what happens. If I change it to adjust by volume, and we have a number of different things because you might have a recipe, but you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to feed half of that recipe in the morning and half of that recipe in the evening. So what you would do is just choose a half, and that'll take half of this recipe and record it. So now you've got half of this bonus chicken and liver recipe in the morning, and let's say that at night you do the exact same thing. Let's say we're feeding them at 6 o'clock, so you take this turkey bonus and put it at 6 o'clock. Yes. Go to adjust by volume and choose half, and we save it. Okay. So now what you've done is you fed that entire recipe which you had balanced in the recipe balancer, but you broke it out into two different meals. So you've got bonus chick, half of it in the morning, you've got half of it in the evening. Now, again, the way to see exactly what you recorded is to double click it. So we double click it, and you'll notice that it goes exactly to what we had left it before. We put it on adjust by volume, and we chose the half radio button. So that's half of the recipe. Now, of course, you could choose 1 1/4 or 1/8, a quarter. We've just set up some multiples for you that are easy, but you can also put in a custom value. So let's say we don't have a third in here. So let's say that it was a third. So you would put 0.33 or something. So let's say 0.33. So that's a third. And then you would save it. And what it's going to do is it will it will edit that record that you had stored, and it'll put the new record in with only 1/3 of that recipe. So we can double check it by just taking a quick look at it. And so we double clicked it. We've got adjust by volume. You can see it's enter a custom value, and it's 0.33. All right. And you could keep changing this if you want. If you made a mistake, you could go here back to, let's say, adjust by weight, and or let's just I want to talk about this in a second here, but you could go back to as fed. Okay, so we double click it again. We're going to get the as fed. So what we've done is we've now fed, in this day, we fed that entire recipe in the morning and then half of that recipe in the evening. So you've given that 1.5 times that recipe, which may be probably too much. But I'm just trying to demonstrate exactly how the different ways that you can feed doing this. Okay, let's go back to this one again. And we're gonna it's recorded as fed, but we want to adjust it this time not by volume, but we want to adjust it by weight because it's more accurate actually to adjust by weight. Of course, you have to have a scale. If you've got yourself a good scale, especially a gram scale or an ounce scale, it doesn't matter because it's defaulting here to grams. And the nice thing about it is it tells you what the original recipe weight is, which is 901.65 grams. So you know that that recipe that you had created for Spot, was probably the one that is here as a complete and balanced recipe, um, is a complete and balanced recipe for one day, that one meal, and it's 901.65 grams. Okay, but Perhaps you don't want to deal in grams. Perhaps you want to deal in ounces. So you could just switch it here to ounces, and you could see that that's translated to 31.805 ounces. Now, let's say that that's how much that whole recipe is, and let's say you were fed only 10 ounces. So you would feed 10 ounces, and you choose save. And so what that's going to do now is it'll take the nutrients for 10 ounces of that recipe and record it exactly into this time slot. So I think you can begin to see how powerful that is. Now, when we double clicked it, we get back exactly what we had recorded. We had recorded it in ounces, 31.085 ounces, which is the original recipe, and we had put our custom value in, which we had fed 10 ounces. All right. So now I want to go back to as fed. So don't forget that I can change this right away by doing anything, by going to here or to here or to here. And if I click save on this one, it'll just replace everything with the nutrient values for the entire recipe in this one slot. So if I go back to it again, you can see it comes back as fed, which means that you have fed that entire recipe amount. So you could look at this, the little help thing that we have here. It says, click the save button to record the exact recipe and recipe amount. So that's whatever you had designed for that recipe in the recipe balancer module. All right, so we've had volume. You could feed by volume, which is actually pretty easy, and a lot of people would use that. Or by weight, if you want to get really, if you want to really fine tune it, you can feed by weight, and you can, I mean, grams you can really fine tune it a lot with grams. But you've got the option of ounces or kilograms or pounds, whatever you want to use. Okay. Now, the final one is we've really taken this to a high level here, and that's adjust ingredient amount. Because here we've got to look at the whole recipe right here. We see that we've got many different ingredients: kelp and omega-3 fish oil, spinach, chicken liver, carrots, Swiss chard, canola oil, bone meal. So it's quite a lot of different ingredients in here, and and there's a lot of times where we have fed a recipe, but we were missing an ingredient, or we were missing two ingredients, or something like this, or we didn't have enough of something like, let's say that we didn't have enough kelp powder. We only had one leveled scoop or something like this. So we're feeding most of the recipe, but not the entire amount. And so that's where this comes in, is now you can adjust the ingredient amount to anything that you want. So let's just say that we didn't have any canola oil and we didn't have any kelp powder. Okay, so okay, excuse that. So we didn't have any kelp powder and we didn't have any canola oil. So we just uncheck those and we're going to save it. Okay, so what that's going to do now is it will record all the nutrients in that recipe minus those two ingredients. So if we click back, it goes to our tab, adjust ingredient amount, and we can look and we can see now that the kelp powder is now at 0. If you can recall from just before, it was at 2 level scoops, and the canola oil, I can't remember what it was, is now at 0 as well. All right. Now, if you want to see what the original amount was, we can just do this. Go back to as fed, save it. Okay. Then we go back, we double click it, go to adjust ingredient amounts, and it puts us back to that original recipe that we had recorded, which is 2 level scoops of the kelp powder, and we can see that the canola oil was 1 teaspoon. Of course, there's so much that you can do with this. For instance, maybe you fed more than 200 grams of the chicken broilers. Well, you could put, let's say that in the particular recipe, you fed 300 grams. So you could put 300 grams in. Or let's say that you fed only four livers, or whatever you want. So you could adjust this recipe to any which way. The whole idea of this one that we created this here is because we found that there's many of us who we don't always have the exact recipe and we're feeding it different amounts. So what we really want to do is we want to track what we had fed because we want to be able to, let's say, balance it over time. And you'll see with our upcoming Scratchpad module that you're going to be able to balance um, meals over weeks, and it's going to be very easy for you to do. So, in order to do that, you've got to record what you have actually fed. So that's what this is all for. So we'll just leave that at that for now. And that's basically it for the Diet Tracker module. So we hope that you do use it. Thank you very much for watching.